for inviting me out. Jeremiah from AlphaCon. I'm looking at you guys and gals sitting here, and investing in yourself, I think, is one of the most important things you can do. This is how I grew my business, literally sitting exactly where you are, consistently going to seminars, conferences, meeting different people that turn into awesome relationships. So keep doing what you're doing. Let me see, where's the freaking thing at? There's the freaking looking at. Okay, here we go. I was going to be right here. Here we go. Okay, so as you know, my name is Khaazra, and I want to talk to you today about building your business and protecting your cash flow. So I want to see who's in the audience today. By raise of hands, how many people here are brand new entrepreneurs, just new into business? Okay. And how many people here already have an existing business? How many people over 6 figures a month? Okay. And how many over 7 figures a year? Okay, gotcha. By raising hands again, how many people here have experienced legal issues in their business? Okay, was it fun? All right. So let me get into it. So as you can see, my business partner and I, who became my best friend and also the best man in my wedding, we built a payment processing company. It's a fintech company, Newport Beach, California, you can see here. And, we have a good situation. We have 18th floor plush office, overlooking Orange County, California. We have staff. Everybody's happy at the time. Sort of our top-ranking salespeople. We're celebrating in the office, popping bottles. It was like, I think, apple cider, whatever they call that stuff. But it wasn't liquor. But anyway, we're popping bottles, right? And we have company parties. Everything is good. The bank is happy. The card brands are happy. Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Money's flowing. Everybody's happy. And I'm happy because it's not about the money for me. I really enjoy helping people just like me build their business and protect their cash flow. For some reason, I get off on helping people. And so, I normally would fly to the office. I live in Florida, Orlando, Florida, and I would fly to the office every single week, which is a long flight, a 5-hour flight. And then when COVID hit, I couldn't travel as much because of, we're scared to look at each other too long, or to, stand within 6 feet, you can't touch the person, someone will caution, whoa, what's going on? So travel was restricted, and so I couldn't go to the office. And while I'm not in the office, some very shrewd businessmen approached my business partner with this plan to tell them they're going to help grow our business 100x in just a few months. We really don't need any help. This is what they tell me. And so, as soon as they come on board, within just a few months, I'm sitting on the couch with my wife, who was due to have our baby boy any day, and I start getting these phone calls from some of the clients that I personally know, and they were complaining about, they can't get their funds are frozen. We have a payment processing company, so their funds are frozen, or maybe they were overcharged, or maybe their funds are in reserve, because in payment processing you do have reserve. Anyone knows what reserve is for payment processing? And so normally reserve is there for 6 months. Some of them were saying that their reserve was being held for a month. It was just all kinds of issues, and they weren't good issues. Clients were very angry. And again, remember, the shrewd businessman came on board to help us grow our company 100x, even though we didn't need it. And next thing you know, I couldn't even get in my own office. Literally speaking, this is like me fighting to get in my own office from employees that I hired, right? So it's like this corporate takeover type of thing. So my hands are tied. Even though people are calling me, I can't really help them because my hands are tied. And so I began to look into it, and this is what I learned as a result of talking to our clients. Most of our clients did not have an understanding of their money. They just assumed they should receive a certain amount. The majority emotionally just accept whatever is deposited into their bank account because they really don't know, right? The other thing is if your funds are held, whether it be, and if your merchant account is shut down, and if your reserve is held, you really have no cash flow, so have no cash flow, we all have bills. Our vendors, they don't care about they don't care if you can't pay. And so if you don't have any cash flow coming in, you still have your bills. You have to pay your staff, you have to run ads, you got to pay yourself, but you have no cash flow, so you have some serious problems. And so this is where our clients begin to experience. And so I couldn't just sit there, right? I had to make a pivot. And I was offered to do it because a lot of major companies thrive and make money off of our ignorance in terms of us not knowing our numbers. I was offered a deal to work with, my friend and his 100x growing business partners. And because of my core values, because of my ethics, and because of the way I feel about people in general, I love and value relationships. And I don't want to see someone one day doing business with them, and then when I see them in the grocery store or in the city somewhere, I have to run the other way. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. So instead of joining that team, I chose to fight, and really fight. And I didn't want to fight my best friend, the best friend of my wedding. We actually built the business together, but I had to fight. So, I fought him, and I had to fight his friends. Like, it was a real dog fight. And I began helping our clients literally one by one. But I'm on the outside helping them as opposed to being within the company. And so the clients that I began helping, the ones who didn't understand anything about their money, went from not understanding anything about their money to now knowing their numbers. The clients who couldn't grow their business because their funds were locked up or held, they went from that to now having a long-term business model. The clients who had no cash flow went to having cash flow, like money Mayweather, right? It's always a good thing to have cash flow. And so I believe that you can build your business, scale it, and protect your cash flow at the same time. I think most people just focus on making money. They never think about the protecting that money side of it. So I've been in the industry for maybe 12, 15 years now. I started off as a sales rep, worked my way up to training sales reps, started our own company, and got all the way to the very top where we handle everything in-house. Underwriting, the risk, customer service, tech support, nothing is outsourced. So I've helped everything from brick and mortar all the way to online. Your small mom and pop to your 8-figure, 9-figure business per month. And tips, advice, anything and everything, I've done it. So what I want to teach you in the next 15 minutes is this: how what you don't know can absolutely hurt you. The next thing I want to teach you is how to avoid cash flow mismanagement problems. And then the third thing I want to teach you is how important it is to hire a specialist in your industry to help you grow your business. So, I'm going to call this the agreement. The first thing is the agreement. And why do you think the agreement is so important? You can blurt it out. Why would you think the agreement is so important?
Both people know what we're taking out as a relationship.
Right. And everything that we do, every relationship ties back to an agreement that is in writing. In business, I'm not talking about personal relationships, but in business, it ties back to what's in writing. That's what guides the relationship. If you think about it, you have a marriage contract. No, I'm married. I hope to never ever divorce. I can't even dream of it. But when something happens in marriage, what happens? What do you go back to? To the marriage contract, to the agreement. And then the courts dictate what happens. You have a driver's license. That's an agreement. If you make a left when you shouldn't, you have to pay a fee. If you run through a red light, you have to pay a fee. And there's nothing you can say about it because you signed the agreement. You had, whenever you guys came here and purchased tickets, or whenever you purchase something online, you have terms and conditions. That's what governs the relationship. So if there's an issue, it goes back to that agreement. It doesn't matter what someone said over the phone, or in person, or whatever marketing you saw, it goes back to the agreement. Smart contracts, those are agreements. Loan application. In the loan application, if you miss a payment, what happens? You miss 2 payments. What happens? It goes back to the agreement. Maybe they just take the property from you or the car from you. Right? It all goes back to the agreement. So someone else's agreement. Because every agreement that you sign, whoever created that agreement, I can guarantee you if it was done by someone who's knowledgeable, is to protect them. So now you need to create an agreement that protects your business. So, everything we do is confidential, so I'm going to just say Michael is an entrepreneur that we're working with. And Michael had been with us for maybe about a year and a half. He was hitting 5 figures, maybe a couple 6-figure months, and then he figured it out, and he has a 7-figure plus month. And oftentimes when we scale, we don't really pay attention to the numbers. We just know we're making a lot of money. And, with the payment brands in particular, in the agreement, if you hit a certain number of chargebacks, a certain percentage, there's an issue. If you hit a certain percentage of fraud, there's an issue. Things are triggered as a result of that. And so sometimes chargebacks could be because, the product, the customer feels like it wasn't as expected. Maybe it was misrepresented. Sometimes we have a physical-based business where you're sending our product, maybe it was delivered to the wrong location, or maybe not delivered at all. Or maybe someone purchased your product or service with a fraudulent credit card. There's all kinds. Maybe someone just purchased your product, they used it, and they're scamming, and they just want to create, they want their money back, right? So there's all kinds of reasons. But in the agreement, when certain things happen, certain things are triggered, there's penalties for that. And unfortunately, this is someone that I personally knew. He just got married, was on his honeymoon, and he found out he had over $2 million that was frozen. And no one wants to have that happen when you're in your honeymoon. And so, in the payment industry, in the majority of cases, when your account is shut down because of too much fraud or chargebacks, they hold your funds for a minimum of 180 days. Sometimes it could be a year. It just depends on what's in the agreement. And remember, I'm on the outside looking in. So I began to work with him. And we gathered all the information, all the chargebacks, all the fraud. We looked at what the agreement said and what he triggered. And I came up with a solution. And normally, again, your funds aren't released until at least 6 months. And that's after 6 months, if you have no more chargebacks, then they give you the money back. If you do, then they basically recycle for another 90 days. And so some people have their funds held for literally well over a year, based upon the performance of their business that's attached to the agreement. So I began to work with him and going through the numbers. And I got $500,000 released within a month. The next month, another $500,000. And by the 6-month period, we had all $2 million released back to him. And so everyone says, sell, 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 right? And I'm saying to take the time to understand your agreement that you signed or that you click on. Most people, when you click on it, you're definitely not reading it. Because whenever an issue happens, and as you scale, an issue will arise, everything will go back to that agreement. So, next topic, the numbers, right? Now, why are the numbers important? I'm going to allow you to help me finish this sentence. If you don't know your numbers, say it again? Can't scale? Anybody else want to give it a try? If you don't know your numbers, you're losing money. Say it again? Boom, that's it. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. On social media, I see a lot of posts, screenshots, where people are sharing how much money they made. Nothing wrong with that. Some of it's real, maybe some not. And I think there's a little blur between gross revenue and net revenue. I think most people understand the gross revenue side of it, because if you're looking at this picture, this is just gross revenue. And so one solution to eliminating the blur between gross revenue and net revenue is to simply take all of your financial statements, your bank account, your payment processing, your credit cards, everything that you do that has anything to do with your money, sale document. You can use Mint. And if you're not the kind of person who wants to take the time to understand it, then you can hire someone to do that for you. I'm telling you, it's super critical to do. I work with tons of entrepreneurs, like tons, all walks of life, all income brackets. And because of the blur between gross revenue and net revenue, people literally start blowing money based upon the gross revenue. So they go out and buy all at the top. You know, brand name gear, they buy the exotic cars. I'm not knocking it. Right? They buy all the exotic cars, they start traveling, living la vida loca. You know, like, it's good. But there's a blur between gross and net, and they're spending based upon the gross. So if you happen to have, and I see this happen all the time, where you may get a spike in sales, you start spending, and then a month and a half later, you start getting a ton of chargebacks. You already spent the money. You know you don't want to pay, right? And it creates massive problems. I don't have time to go into it, but it creates massive problems. Because you've already spent the money. Some people just say, you know what, I'm not paying you, and I'm just going to shut my bank account down. Now you have the car brands coming after you. That's attached to the FTC, and I've seen plenty of people, unfortunately, go to jail for avoiding paying their payment processing fees, because in the agreement, it specifically says, if you don't do this, then this and that can happen. Besides taking your home, besides taking your car, you can go to jail. And so I hear a lot of people say, success loves speed. And I'm saying that when you rush, you make mistakes that others capitalize on. Next, specialist versus generalist. Why is this important? The devil is in the details. That document with the little devil towards the end, or towards the bottom of it, that's the details. The devil is definitely in the details. Anyone know what this picture is? Everyone knows Robert De Niro is, right? Does anyone know what movie this is, or what particular character he's playing, or what person he's playing? Say it again. It's the Untouchables. He's playing the role of Al Capone. Why would they call the movie Untouchables? Al Capone was bootlegging, he was gambling, prostitution. Well, they call the movie Untouchables because they couldn't touch him. He was even responsible for, they say he was, I wasn't there, for the Valentine's Massacre. He's even quoted saying that you can't collect taxes on illegal activity. Like, the dude was untouchable. You know, police officers couldn't get him on murders. FBI couldn't get him, like, nobody could touch the guy. But what they did is they found a specialist from the federal internal, from the Internal Revenue Bureau, which I'm guessing was the IRS today. And that's how they got him. They got him on basically tax evasion. And to kind of further emphasize the point, Michael Jordan, one of the greatest athletes in the world in the sport of basketball, I think he was one of the best ever. But in baseball, he was like, right? He wasn't a specialist. So I'm saying that you should definitely vet a specialist in your industry. And whenever something happens, this is what people go to. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to hire an attorney. You're going to hear from my attorney. Most companies, like, first of all, they already know what the agreement says. They're like, do it. And then when you go and hire an attorney, the attorneys are like, yes, billable hours. And no attorney can legally guarantee you success. What they'll say is, let's learn on your dime. And so if you're okay with buying your attorney your lake house, then go for it. But if you want something smarter, you're going to absolutely make sure that because think about it, you wouldn't even hire a general CPA to handle your taxes if you were in e-commerce, unless that was a CPA that understood e-commerce. I wouldn't hire a litigation, or wouldn't today, I learned a lesson. I wouldn't hire a litigation attorney for payment processing unless they understood payment processing. you must hire a specialist in your industry. So, one of the common questions I get is, Khaazra, can you help me build my business and protect my cash flow? And the answer is yes. And so, what the program is one that helps entrepreneurs just like you understand your numbers. I wish I had done this myself when we first started the business maybe 12, 15 years ago. I was a sales guy, right? And what the program does for you, it helps you to create a system to grow your business. If you understand your numbers, if you have a system to help you grow your business, what does that mean? It means now you have cash flow, which is super key for your business. So, next step, you should have a card that someone puts together for me with a nice suit and bow tie on there. And I have nothing to sell you, literally nothing to sell you. But if you want more information, you want to be more educated, then fill out the card. And I don't even know, I guess fill it out, we'll pick it up. And I hope guide you along the way and give you the education. Now, if you're wondering, like, hey, is this program for me? Literally, I have nothing to sell you. But if you're wondering if the program is for you, if you have a business, right, or if you're new at business, if you want a program that will help you build your business and protect your cash flow, then fill out the card. This is for you. And so I have a 19-month-old baby boy, and a lot of what I do with my child in mind. And sometimes I'm like, you visualize, you picture a day when you say to yourself, you can hear your child, your son, your daughter, your wife, your husband come up to you and say, hey, they ask you a question. How are you able to build your business and protect your cash flow in a way that allows you to give us the lifestyle that we have today? And hopefully, you have a great answer to them, instead of just leaving it up to chance. And so, as I close this out, I mentioned to you in the beginning about the big fight, right? Fight my business partner, I'm fighting his friends. Some of his friends actually sold their businesses for literally over $250 million. And after a very long, expensive, emotionally taxing, and stressful battle, that chapter is over. And so, I am back to helping people just like you build their business and protect their cash flow, avoiding 7 figures in legal fees. And it's because I understood the numbers. And we are rebuilding the business at scale to help people just like you so that we can better serve.